Welcome back to another episode of the How's Your Touch podcast, covering all things Scottish women's football. I'm your host, Peter. As always, I'm joined by Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Not great.
No.
Literally, so when you text me to be like, "Do you want to do now?" I was drinking a coffee, which I'm still drinking. I have it here. So as I was like getting everything set up and moved across, I spilled that coffee on the floor, all over myself. So I am sat here with like a big coffee stain on my jeans. I've only got one sock on because my sock was wet. I've had to put my blanket in the wash. The coffee now doesn't have a lid because the lid was covered in coffee.
You could have just
landed,
said,
like literally perfectly upside down.
you could have said, give me 5 minutes.
I could have probably. I could have, but I was like, no, I'll get on. But just I feel very flustered. Because it was literally like as I like turned around, as I put my laptop on top of the books that it sits on, so that it's at head level. I like turned around and like probably smacked off my table. Like I forgot it was there, to be honest. So yeah, not a great
That's ruined your entire day.
It's not ruined my day. It's just annoying because like the blanket obviously doesn't. It's white, which is annoying because it's probably going to stain. But also, it's the blanket that I use while I'm at work because it's Baltic. And yeah, just generally not a vibe. How are you?
A bit better than that. I had a nice, is it autumn still? We're in winter, probably a nice winter walk this morning.
Yeah, winter.
Got a wee coffee. Yeah, got a wee coffee, walked back around. Should have been doing my actual work.
Did you throw your coffee all over yourself?
No, I was sat down having it
No.
at a shop. Came back, did some actual 9 to 5 work.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my life.
But
yeah, I mean,
so relaxed and calm.
Yeah, well, I mean, as calm as it is. I don't have time for anything else anymore, to be fair. But it's been a pretty good week. Loads of stuff happening in Scotland. Biggest news of the week: Gary Holt, Thistle manager. Dramatic.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, weird. Quite good.
We should probably talk about like congratulations to the boys. Well done.
I know, actually, yeah.
That
is big.
It's not the same, but it's nice. It's nice to see that they get a nice wee holiday.
Yeah, was legit incredible, to be fair. I know we're also in football, but that was a
hilarious.
mental game last night. We were close to after the men, so it's kind of be hard to, I guess, focus on the SWPL after they qualify for the World Cup the first time and whatever.
It's gonna, when we talk about the Scotland squad in a minute, and I get all negative, it's gonna be really hard to be negative about Scotland's like senior national team because of the fact that happened. And
well, I do think some of the points we're going to talk about
48 hours ago, I would have said that Kenny McLean shouldn't be in the Scotland squad.
Yeah, what the fuck do we know about football? How about that? Although there are some points in the men's stuff that I think the women's team, or we'll get onto it. But I do think the Gary Holt Thistle thing genuinely quite interesting because he's he's not managed in however many years, but he's not
managed in a long time, and he's had 2 successful seasons in his entire career. So it's a little concerning,
but I mean he was a Scottish Premiership men's first division manager quite successfully.
I still find it odd because it's like he's got no women's football experience, and I think that's something
that's true.
Like Thistle obviously will need, because it's one of the things that Brian Graham did really well. Obviously, he came into the job with no women's football experience, so Gary Holt may be the same, and I think he deserves the time. Every manager deserves the time to show that they can grow and do those things. But one of the things Brian Graham did really well is he learned the league and knew the players across the league really well and built up those relationships so they could sign players like Callie Gibb and players like Hannah Robinson, who they identified from other teams. Gary Holt's obviously coming in, about to be a transfer window, into a situation where they're not doing well. And maybe it's a good thing he doesn't know the players at the club, but he also doesn't have any connections to go and get reinforcements. It's going to be very, it's just interesting. On the part of this as well, also the sad news that Hannah Robinson's done her ACL and MCL.
Yikes.
Which is, it is really sad. It happened at Broadwood. She's put out a post on Instagram where she basically says Broadwood's shit. It's hard to disagree. It's the 5th ACL injury at Broadwood's. It's the oldest surface that you can find the date of in the top division. It's become infamous. Like loads of players have spoken about how it's not good enough. For a club like Rangers to be playing there, you kind of think that they should be doing something. I know they're obviously moving to Ibrox more and more, but yeah it's just
it's not great.
A not so good thing. So yeah, I hope she's doing okay. At least she'll have Cara Henderson as well around the club, and they can hang out, do commentary.
Silver lining: someone else has the same injury. So
yeah. If Hannah Robinson wants to follow in the media footsteps,
listen,
we would love a third.
Yeah, fair enough. There was also in the past week Scotland women's squad announcement for the games against Ukraine and China. We can chat about that a wee bit, same as before, but there is also the introduction of Mary Taylor from Aston Villa for her first cap. Be honest with you, didn't even know she existed.
Yeah, so I have so many problems with this, like, as a call-up, for a variety of reasons, but the main one is it feels like she's being rewarded for changing her nationality rather than being rewarded for actually playing well. She's at Aston Villa, she's a midfielder, she's 25 years old. Those things you kind of think, okay, like you can sort of say, oh, that makes sense. You think she'd be in the Scotland squad. As of her getting called up, she has played a full game since then, in which she had an absolute nightmare and got like a 5.6 rating against London City Lionesses in a 3-1 loss. As of the call up, she had only played 247 minutes in WSL, so the equivalent of 2.7 games.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one.
She's been called up based on less than 3 games of minutes. In that time, and I'm going to compare this with Ellis Notley, which like we'll speak about Hibs in a minute, but like this is stats coming from before the Edinburgh Derby. But in her last 3 games, she had a 78% of pass accuracy, averaging 10.8 passes per game. She made 3 interceptions, no key passes, no assists, 1 goal. That's her record. That's Mary Taylor's record from the last 3 games. This Notley, in the last 3 games prior to this Edinburgh Derby, 80% pass accuracy, averaging 27.3 passes per game, 7 interceptions, 9 key passes, 4 assists, and 2 goals. Same position.
Yeah.
Which one are you calling up?
Mary Taylor.
Ellis Notley has played an additional 10 games on top of that.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even just me saying it should be Ellis Notley, as a Hibs fan, or obviously it's been something that I've said since pretty much the start of the season that she should be getting, she's at the point where she's playing so well, it's hard to ignore. But, like, you could swap Notley out for Jodie McCleary.
Yeah,
you could swap Notley out for Ailey Shaw, Maria McInerney, May Croft. If she's eligible for Scotland, I'd get her in the senior team. Because even May Croft is performing at a higher level than Mary Taylor. And the WSL is not that much better. And it's just so frustrating because Andreatta has said a lot of the right things about the SWPL. She has gone to the games. But there still seems to be such a, bias towards players not playing in Scotland.
Well, it's interesting.
We qualified for the World Cup and the Euros, calling up players who were not even playing full-time football in Scotland.
Yeah.
And we were calling them up over players playing abroad.
I think, I think my biggest concern with it as well is, there's a few of them, her, probably Freya Gregory, Georgia Brown as well. It's players, we've gone out of our way to find these footballers. What's the point in the under-19s and 23s, the performance schools, the whole Scottish football setup, if we're just going to go out of our way to change nationality of somebody to get them in the squad? And it's something that, I think, obviously, the men being very successful at the moment, I think it's something that, Steve Clarke on his side did very well with his squad, is that there are certain players who didn't necessarily come through the Scottish system, but are of such a high quality that you take them like McTominay, probably Angus Gunn, Shea Adams, etc. from the men's side. Yeah. But within that, you've got players like McGinn and McLean and Shankland and Tierney and Christie and things who all are they came through Scottish teams, not even necessarily the big Scottish teams, but Livingston or Queen of the South or Ayr or something like that. So we're like ingrained within that kind of Scottish football.
Yeah.
And I think that's something like you're missing. That we have a few of that within the squad, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure like Mary Taylor,
yeah.
Freya Gregory are of this like Scott McTominay, Angus Gunn level quality compared to what we have to sacrifice the knowing that
what I
you're
think
the
is,
Scottish setup.
yeah,
So
I would disagree on Freya Gregory because I think it's a really useful tool for us in positions of need or for people that will level us up. So Kirsty Hansen being an example of someone that levels us up. She
yeah,
is. I genuinely think England will probably be quite annoyed at themselves for not having called her up sooner because of the footballer she's become, especially with their current wing situation of being a bit dire. Freya Gregory is a left footer who plays on the left, can play all the way from left back all the way to left wing. That is a position that we do not have really anyone in. So then it's useful to go and get someone like her, and she's still young. Georgia Brown is a really tall centre back, playing well at a high level.
okay.
I think that's the crucial bit as well. Playing well. Freya Gregory is also playing
Well, this is
well.
my thing. I don't have a problem with calling these players up. As I say, it's as you say,
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be a place where we need it, and it
Yeah,
improves us, and is a better
as a
option than what we could get out of N23s, in my
yeah,
opinion.
not even necessarily a better option. Mary Taylor might be a better footballer than Ellis Notley. We'll just keep using her as the example. But Mary Taylor is not playing football. She's not playing well, and it sends the wrong message. And I think the whole squad kind of sends the wrong message a wee bit because it kind of like, what is the actual point in playing well at SWPL level in the Scottish Domestic League?
Yeah.
What is the point if you're just going to be ignored? Like, and like, I like Lee Eddy. I think Lee Eddy's great. Lee Eddy's basically not played,
No, yeah,
you
she's
know,
been out. Yeah.
and she's straight back in now. She's fit, and she's not playing that well. Now she's fit. Rangers' whole defence, which we'll speak about when we speak about the Old Firm, isn't playing that well. You know, it becomes this sort of like the conversation we used to have about Pedro, where it seems like players are just guaranteed spots. And it becomes really like, it wouldn't shock me if in 4 months' time Claire Emsley's brought straight back into the squad without even making her return to Angel City.
Yeah.
And like, Claire Emsley's a fantastic footballer who I do think, deserves to be recognised for what she's done in the past for Scotland and the level that she's shown and the level that she still plays at. But she shouldn't come straight back in. You shouldn't be returning to Scotland duty before you return to club duty. And that happens a lot. And then you've got the same with this squad. There's so many players in the squad. Arthur Thomas, we spoke about it after the last international break.
Yeah. She scored
She's
yet?
now not even playing at Spurs. No. They drew 0-0 with Arsenal and they didn't make a single sub.
Nice.
From what, or was that might have been Liverpool against Chelsea actually. But she didn't come on. Like,
yeah, both useless games. Yeah.
two like mid-table WSL teams beating or drawing with a top team, but like she's not getting the trust now at Tottenham either. And it's like, at what point does that become? You're not performing. Ailey Adams obviously injured now, but Ailey Adams is performing. How do you just? I just don't get how you justify that as a manager without just going straight into. Oh, sorry, I do tell a lie. She came on in the 75th minute. So,
Nice. Well, good for her.
yeah,
I guess the way you justify it
pointless
is
minutes.
probably, I guess she's trying to do what, again, to use the men's team, was success for the men's team, is that you run it like a club and you have your 23 player
Yeah,
squad that you only chop and change very slightly if needed, but you have your players and you
yeah, I
develop
get
the
that. But if
trust in
this was a
them.
club, those players would be getting put on the transfer list.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah, no, no,
that's the level we're at. We're not
but I
talking about
agree.
players
But
that are doing
I would
well
say,
because they're not playing well for Scotland either.
but I would say when you look back at it, to continue the men's comparison, Steve Clarke didn't come in and within his first 4 games say this is my 23 player. It took him like a year, if not longer, to before it became quite a settled squad.
He
Andreatta's
also
been in
faces
for
pretty heavy criticism
he did, yeah. But like,
over him not calling up players like Lennon Miller when he was in
yeah,
Scotland and things like
etc.
that.
But like, you've got Andrea's been here for four games or whatever. These are now friendlies against really random teams to play friendlies against.
Yes, no, it's
And
really bizarre.
like,
It seems like it was whoever was available, to be honest.
it's your
Especially
opportunity.
considering
Like,
playing them in Spain.
if it was club football, this is the pre-season friendly where the random exciting 18-year-old gets a half of football, and they're and you see kind of like the reserve players who might get a chance this year. They play the game, and you make 12 changes at halftime in club football. So if the idea is it's like club football and we keep Martha Thomas and that around because they're our core squad players, well then you also got to treat the friendlies like club football, and you should call up more people and make 12 changes and try stuff. So
what really annoys me on top of that is, like, I look at the under 23s, for example, with Erin Clacker's obviously guaranteed to start and goal pretty much, despite being over the age of 23. And I think of like Lisa Rogers, who was excellent in the Old Firm, has been excellent this whole season. We obviously had a conversation at the start of the season about her going in as number one and it being a little bit of a concern because, like,
she's
she is so
done
young,
really well.
and she's been genuinely one of the best keepers in the league. Rachel Johnson as well, who we'll also get on to talk about, who isn't in either squad, which is nuts. Like, you think of those two, they're sat looking at a senior national team where only one goalkeeper is playing any kind of football, and it's Lee Gibson, who we've spoken time and time again about. It's coming towards the end of her tenure as Scotland goalkeeper. We kind of need to make a decision at some point soon who's going to take over. Arthur Cummings is now sitting on Man City's bench, not playing football, and it's the hardest position to come into cold, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think there is a big thing to talk about in terms of players coming, like Kathy McGovern coming into Scotland duty, which she probably won't because she's also injured now, coming into Scotland duty in good form, high morale, feeling like anything that they do is going to come off and being willing to take those risks, which we don't have because a lot of our players don't play football because we're calling them up because they're guaranteed to get called up, like Martha Thomas, who's probably, let's say, her morale must be zero right now. And like, she is really struggling, and I want her to get back to her best because, similar to like a Lyndon Dykes, I think she's a great outlet for the team, and I think what she does outside of scoring goals is so important, but she's not doing that now, which is why I think it's a little bit like hard to justify her being in the squad. But she's not doing it because she's feeling it. She's not playing football.
Yeah.
And then goalkeeper, I feel like, is the hardest one, where you're coming in and you've not played for months. We've got Sandy McKeever and Arthur Cummings. This is probably the perfect opportunity for Sandy McKeever to drop out this squad because obviously the NWSL has just, well, as is the final this weekend, has just finished. Her team's got to the final. Hopefully they win it because she plays for them and she's Scottish. I also really like Gift Monday, but like, she then deserves a break. She shouldn't have to then go to a Scotland
Fly
squad
off to
after her
Spain or
season's
something.
ended.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially while we've got options like Rachel Johnson, who's been in the squad before when she was at Celtic. And that's what I still find that bizarre because she was deemed good enough when she was worse than she is now.
Yeah.
Or like, bring Lisa Rogers in, like, get her into the squad just so she can see it. And that is the thing about this squad, is that, like, I just find it so odd how much we're ignoring, like, some players who are in ridiculous form in the league.
Yeah, it's the same kind of concerns we've had for years now of this, like, SWPL, like, ignoring
It's
it.
the stuff we spoke about with Pedro.
Pedro,
but
and
the only difference is that Pedro didn't go to games.
Yeah,
Mel Andretta went to the Edinburgh Derby,
and
so go her, I guess.
But it becomes doubly frustrating, as you say, because she's going to the games, and then, as we're not going to go on to talk about, like, this weekend of SWPL action, Derby weekend is it called, but some of the quality on show there was incredible. And to have watched those games, to see the competitiveness, to see the quality, and to then still kind of ignore it is very frustrating. So I guess,
if I was a Hearts fan, I would be genuinely furious that she's
they're
watched
always
that
angry
Hearts
anyway,
performance.
to be fair. So
She's watched that Hearts performance against Hibs, and I don't think it was without flaws, but she's watched that performance and gone, I don't think Erin and Jess Husband are good enough to play for the senior team or be in the 23s. because they're obviously still playing 19s football. She's watched the Old Firm and she's decided that Laura Berry should still be playing 19s football. I know it's not necessarily just down to her, but she is involved in those decisions. I think Laura Berry should be playing senior football. She's watched the Edinburgh Derby last weekend at Oriam in the Cup, and she's decided that Rosie Livingston's not good enough, that Tegan Bowie's not good enough for senior football. And it's like there's so many players, and that's just in Edinburgh. Really. And if you then go to Glasgow and you look at Lisa Forrest and Laura Berry at Rangers, obviously Jodie McCleary, who has been exceptional. Ailey Austin at right back, I think, has been really, really impressive. And we've always had the conversation before about Emma Lawton not necessarily being in the greatest form, or showing that she's the best right back in the league that is Scottish. And now we were talking about in the context of Callie Gibb. Now there's also Ailey Austin now, which I think is important to talk about. And it's just like, it's just really frustrating to see, because it is, as you say, it's the same concerns we've had for so long. And this is the last friendly break before the World Cup qualifying starts. So you're assuming that then this squad is the squad that goes into World Cup qualifying, which is then the squad that goes to the World Cup. And it's like, well, are we getting?
Yeah, it's not an exciting squad, unfortunately.
For example, when Kathleen McGovern, I assume, pulls out, like, who's replacing her? Because no one's got any caps. And Ailey Adams is obviously not in the under 23, or won't be in the 23 squad likely. So she's the obvious replacement. She's the only one with a cap. So do you go to Bailey Hutchison, who's kind of been displaced at Hearts? Or do you call up someone from the 19s? Like, what is she going to do? And I don't have any faith that she's going to make the right decision anymore. Because it just seems like, it seems almost like what we're watching is a lie. Because, the Scotland national team manager doesn't think these players are any good, so they must not be.
Yeah, it's bizarre, I would say. But we'll anyway park it and we'll see what happens in the friendlies. Maybe they win every game 10-0 and Andrea has to go. I don't know. Unlikely. But
I don't think that's really relevant because we're playing Ukraine and China.
No, it's not relevant anyway. And
we should be beating Ukraine and China.
Yes, we should. That's true.
Which is then a conversation to be had, because we should also be beating Morocco quite comfortably, and we didn't.
Yeah.
We struggled, and the game against Switzerland was better, but it wasn't great.
No.
So
yeah. Well, anyway, as I say, we'll have a look at it later on. But for now, let's chat about some SWPL action. Derby weekend. First one off the bat was Hibs Hearts. Not a great result for.
First one off the bat was actually the Old Firm.
We'll get to that. But so I wanted to ask you about the Hibs Hearts game because I didn't see that one. But then when I saw the result, genuinely was like shocked. Should I not have been shocked?
I wasn't. I thought we would lose from the start.
When have you ever thought Hibs? I think we went last season on every game unbeaten when you went on, and every game you said you were going to lose.
Yeah, that's true. But no, I don't think it was that surprising. I think mostly just from the aspect of, so the derby last weekend in the cup is sort of key, because that game, it was kind of a good thing we didn't have a podcast last week, because I don't think the referees union would be very happy with me. The referee in that game, for both sides, let it get entirely out of hand, and it was like really poor. Mm-hmm. That then leads to Ailey Adams picking up a serious injury, and just for context, Hibs have now picked up 3, potentially 4 serious injuries in 3 games against Hearts this season. All 3 games, I would say, have gotten out of hand because referees have been inconsistent in their decisions and been unwilling to book people, which is a problem we've seen in women's football throughout the world, is that referees do not want to book anyone, ever, for anything. And then games get violent, and it's not good. The ones in this game, or the main one in this game, the McGovern one, is obviously non-contact, so it's not necessarily because of that. The one on Callie Gibb, which is the one where she might not be seriously injured, but she'd have come off, was a bad tackle where she wasn't even given a foul. So in that case, we lose Adams. So we go into this game with Tegan Bowie and Rosie Livingston on the wings, and Why is my brain not working today? I think it's because to the side of me there's just the constant Teams notifications. But we had, what's her name?
Who's
Linda from
Livingston?
Thistle. No, the one we signed from
Tyree
Thistle.
Birchall.
Yes, Tyree Birchall was attacking midfield.
Right.
Tyree Birchall's obviously a very different player from Ailey Adams. You know, like she's not as physical or anywhere near as physical, and she wants to run beyond, as opposed to Adams, who will come short. Adams also does a lot more defensive actions than you would expect from someone who has played up front for so long, and her physicality is obviously really important in that. We were missing that through the whole game, I think. McGovern comes off just before half time after I don't even really know what happened. She kind of swung at the ball and just didn't get back up. I'm anxiously awaiting an injury update from Hibs or Scotland. I'm genuinely, because if she's out long term and Adams is out long term, with Hannah Jordan also not fit, Grant Scott is going to have to come up with an entirely different way of playing.
Yeah.
Because throughout the first half, the most common pass for Hibs to play to get out of their own half and onto the attack was a powerful ball along the ground from Siobhan Hunter to Kathleen McGovern. It's a ball we see all the time from Hibs. Once you change that, and once Kathleen McGovern comes off, Rosie Livingston goes up front, and Kirsty Morrison goes onto the wing, that ball stops happening. Because Rosie Livingston also doesn't want to come short and also lacks the physicality of Kathleen McGovern. If Ailey Adams was available, we're probably fine, because Ailey Adams would have just done that job. We get the goal just before half time. Just after that, it's an incredible header from Ellis Notley from like the edge of the box, which is nuts. Yeah. It's entirely luck. And then going to halftime 1-0 up, and you're thinking, okay, that's fine. You can probably defend out a lead. But the problem was in the second half, he just could not progress the ball because we'd win it back, and these aren't excuses. These are just sort of facts of the day. The pitch wasn't great. Generally, like the actual pitch at Easter Road was a bit torn up, but obviously heavy rain and things. So the ball was sticking a lot, wasn't rolling on the ground, which meant that the likes of Bowie and Livingston and Birchall couldn't get away as easily with their pace. Livingston missed 2 sitters, which also doesn't help. And if you actually look on XG, the game was 1-1, which no, I'm not saying it in like a Hibs should have won or anything. Like I'm just saying like that's the sort of like crux of it, is that Hibs just didn't defend well enough, really.
Yeah.
But it was because they were under so much pressure. And I think Jess Fitzgerald, who was incredible at Oriam in the Cup, and was really good in the first half, and I think throughout the game had a lot of moments where it was like, wow, this is a really good footballer. It's her first experience really playing on that stage, on a big pitch, on a grass pitch, at a big stadium. And I think nerves came into it a wee bit throughout the game. And I think there were a few moments where she gave the ball away and it was like, you can see what she's trying, but she probably shouldn't be trying it. And obviously she's young, it'll come. And then the problem is that Ellis Notley doesn't help her out as much as Kiara Grant or Kirsten Riley would have. I think that's important generally, is that this is our second choice midfield pairing. Scarlett Heron similarly had some really great moments, and then some moments where you're thinking you need to be, if Lindsay Taylor's in that situation, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But then because Hibs couldn't get out, it just became a sort of onslaught from Hearts, and it was, Carly John's obviously an exceptional footballer. Her second is one of the worst goals I think you'll ever see in the SWPL.
It's not a high bar.
The fact that no one was like anywhere near her on 8 yards out if she goes to volley it is ridiculous. It's a good finish, but like the way the ball got there is just just bobbles around. It's just luck. And I think Grant Scott was slow to make changes, which we speak about a lot, but I think part of that is because the changes that he had available to him weren't really useful. Like you can bring on Rachel Boyle and put her in the 10 or put her up front. It doesn't get you any more physicality. You
Yeah.
can bring on a half-fit Kiara Grant or a half-fit Kirsten Riley, which he did do, but they're half-fit.
Yeah.
And like they're not getting you any more goal threat. They're helping you in midfield, but they're not getting you any additional threat. So I think basically the game turns on that Kathy McGovern injury, and then later in the game, as Callie Gibb takes a really poor challenge off of I don't think it was Georgia Timms again, but if it was, then my entire Georgia Timms standing is going to be done because she's the one that injured Ailey Adams as well. But she takes a stud to the thigh in a sliding challenge that doesn't win the ball. It's a yellow card. Like it's not even questionable. The ref just doesn't give anything. Doesn't even wave play on. And constantly throughout the game, it's the ones that frustrate me. It's all the bitty ones at the halfway line, which every team is guilty of. But what I think if you watch this game and the Old Firm specifically, the referee in the Old Firm was quite good at giving bookings for little fouls to stop counterattacks, which meant the little fouls to stop counterattacks remained little fouls.
Yeah.
Little drag backs, little trips. The referee Easter Road didn't. And then and the same at Oriam, then those fouls go from little drag backs, little trips to elbows and kicks and sliding challenges that are way late. And the kind of challenges that you get serious injuries from. And that's the big problem that I sort of have in this game. It's nothing to do with Hibs winning or losing this game. But genuinely, I don't think it had a huge impact. It had a huge impact because Adams wasn't playing because it happened a week before. But it's something that we consistently see in the SWPL that isn't really okay. Yeah. And you can say, it's a derby, you want to see big challenges, passionate, etc. These aren't passionate big challenges. These are, as a former defender, cowards tackles. These are the kind of things that you do because you're pissed off because someone's gone around you. You're pressing high and they've done a little shimmy and done you, so you just kick out and stop them. Or you don't want to track back because you can't be bothered anymore, so you just foul them. And I say they stay pretty low key if the referee is consistent in giving them and talks with the players to tell them to stop it, and starts booking people. And that's the thing that doesn't happen. I mean, as a whole, the game is essentially just turns on that McGovern injury because, as I say, the first half was all Hibs. Should have probably gone in more than one up. And then she comes off, can't get the ball forward, and you're facing, you're defending your own box for 90 minutes against Carly Johns, Jordan Timms, and Bailey Hutchinson.
Yeah, hard
work.
work.
And it's so Ailey Shaw as well. What happened in the game at Oriam was that Hearts midfield was really easy to bypass because there wasn't a midfield. Essentially, they just went without one. And Ailey Shaw in this game did a much, much better job at controlling the midfield and stopping Hibs.
She shored it up.
Playing through. Yeah. And stopping Hibs playing through. And that was obviously, I think that made a huge difference. I think they did really well. Hearts did really well and were really organised to defend against Tegan Bowie and Rosie Livingston's pace, and Terry Birchall's pace as well. There weren't many moments where they got away from their marker. I think the pitch plays into that, but I think that the way that they set up to almost stand off them a little bit and give themselves more time to recover played a huge role in that as well. So Hearts fully deserved the win. They were really good. They obviously got to second in the league now.
Yes.
And as much as Glasgow State are kind of running away with it a wee bit, they're cementing themselves in a title race again early in the season. The question, same as last season, will be can they keep it up? Hibs now have to play Glasgow City potentially without Adams and McGovern and Callie Gibb. And also Kirsten Riley and Cara Grant might not be fully fit yet. And Lindsay Taylor was not in the squad entirely, so she might not be fully fit. So this could be a really tough couple of weeks for I mean, the international break will help because it means we won't have to play any games, but a really tough period in the season for Hibs if they are out longer term.
Yeah, that would be hard.
Because, as I said, that changes the entire way that you have to play. I think Jess Fitzgerald does a really good job in midfield replacing Kirsten Riley. The problem is she's not as defensively minded and is so young, and that then creates its own issue. And then obviously, it's the final third. It's the bit of progressing the ball. If we progress the ball by having Taylor and Hunter play it forward to the big striker, that's our usual method of playing forward.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do that, you've got to find something new
else to do. Yeah.
Without your starting striker and without your starting number 10 and without the striker you signed in the summer to rotate your starting striker.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Hannah Jordan makes a miraculous recovery sometime soon, which I mean, she can have my hamstrings or calves or whatever muscle it is she needs.
Not going to help much.
It's probably not, but it's better than the ones that she can't play on. So yeah, that's sort of the thing. It's just it's just difficult. I think. I still think that we're the only team to take points off Glasgow City all season.
Mm-hmm. You can have that trophy. So
yeah, but we have the SWPL trophy. But I think in this game, Hearts they were every bit as good as we were, and I think a draw probably would have been the fair result. But with the defensive errors that were made in the second half, they deserved to win, and they deserved to win the first game at Tynecastle. On a wider scale, I don't think we should play this game Easter Road because we never win it at Easter Road, and we batter them at Oriam and we batter them at Meadowbank. So just play at Meadowbank. We get a good crowd there anyway. I think expanding Meadowbank would be a really positive thing for Hibs to do, even though our billionaire has now ran away.
Fair enough.
Oh no, our owner's only a multimillionaire. What will it do?
Fair
but
enough.
I think that's generally a thing. I don't think it feels like home. I think it's the main thing.
Yeah,
I think that is a huge thing for Hibs, where it comes when you look at our success last season, the squad felt so tight knit.
Yeah.
Meadowbank became this fortress because it felt like home. I don't think East Road has the same feeling, and maybe because obviously we could talk on a wider scale about the attendances of the big games this week. I don't really want to because it's kind of a dull conversation. Because attendances are healthy throughout the league, apart from the big occasions at the men's stadiums now, which is a different issue, and I don't know how you fix that. But there's just under 5,000 at Easter Road, which is a good number, but it does make it feel very different to Meadowbank when you've got 1,000 people there, and it's quite tight.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. Well, there were other games in the SWPL this week, but we can spend 40 minutes talking about Hibs. I don't mind.
We didn't. We spent 20 minutes talking about Hibs and 20 minutes talking about the Scotland national team. So,
but there was the other, I guess, major game this weekend was the Glasgow Derby, Celtic or Rangers v Celtic at Ibrox. Think about teams who can't win at stadiums. Rangers, good luck. Bring Celtic to Ibrox and get a win. But yeah, probably similar to that. His game, you say Celtic were pretty good to begin with, and then not injuries, but they fell off, and Rangers came back into it. And me and McCauley in particular had an unbelievable second half. And I suppose more importantly, I guess it keeps Rangers in touch and distance of this title race, rather than falling behind as they might have done.
Well, they're above you now, so
yeah, okay, relax. But it really opens. I noticed it. I mean, again, just a wee bit seen around social media and stuff that reopens the Selena Stiku conversation, I think, because that continues this streak. I think I spoke about a couple weeks back. The last time Celtic won one of these quote unquote big games against the top four, they don't include Hearts, is now even longer away.
Yeah.
And again, it's a game where Celtic looked in control, and then it just capitulated. And even when Celtic play well, get in control, or in the lead of a game, if it's a game like this, there's just something that doesn't work, and no matter what, it doesn't need to work. And Elena Stico spoke lots and lots and lots about various things, various issues, but has yet to come up with a solution for it. And so that will probably hang over her head until she either leaves or wins one of them.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, what I find hard to believe is the fact that, like, obviously you drew them in the SWPL Cup, which has actually helped you quite a lot because it means you might not make it to 2 years, because you'll play them in February, which will be 23 months since you last beat Rangers. That is so long.
yeah,
Like,
it's
that's,
really bad.
that's so long that you can't even go, oh, it's resources. Because,
Yeah,
like, you're saying resources and pointing at players that left in the summer, players that left or the majority of made comments about Elena Sadiku's management.
yeah. But there's players we brought in, like
You
Gracie
know,
Porter and someone else that just weren't, they're not just
yeah, and
completely
you've brought
AWOL.
in loads of players since
So,
then that you've
yeah.
not seen. What I find, there's been a lot of discourse about the Celtic bench and the Rangers bench as well,
Mm-hmm.
and how few senior players are on that bench, right?
Yeah.
Rangers, I find it hard to talk about. Rangers, I think, is a bit bizarre because Lee Meng Wen was played this weekend
Mm-hmm.
for a club in China, and I don't understand how that's allowed or why she was allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's just a bit bizarre. But anyway, Celtic's bench was light, exceptionally light. There were three academy players on it in total:
Something like that. Only
McGoldrick,
like
Dawson, and
5 or
then
6
someone
on the bench total.
whose
Yeah.
name I don't recognise. You played Queens Park last week in the cup
Mm-hmm.
and put the first team out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Made very little rotation, and you can say, "Oh, they need the match fitness, blah blah blah." Nah, every other club is putting out
Yeah.
rotated squads, apart from Hibs, who had to play Hearts. So you can
Yeah,
kind of
you're
justify
right,
it.
because then you would have had these players who have
You
played
know,
football to rely on.
yeah,
Yeah.
Celtic. McGoldrick is clearly the one that is deemed closest, even though Sadiqa said she wouldn't play this season.
Yeah.
Give her the full 90 against Queen's Park. She's clearly good enough. She's
She did
played
it
in
last year.
SWPL 1
Yeah.
like a full season
She would have played
almost.
a full night. It's weird as
Yeah,
well because I guess we talk about. I think you can talk about resource, and I think it's probably a relevant conversation from a wider point of view. And I think you should check out the Cynic did an interesting thing about that recently about all the Celtic kind of backwards stuff. But I think you said a lot. It's not the reason why this game is lost because Celtic showed in this game that they were toe to toe with Rangers, if not better than Rangers, for
yeah.
a large period of that game, and
But
then something
also,
happens, they don't win it, and that's well, no matter what, because you could say it's a mentality thing
well,
or
I
a
know
stamina thing. It comes
I
to the
have
manager. So
thoughts on how Rangers got back into the game, but I think wider, like, I wouldn't trust Sadiku with resources anyway. Because look at the signings she's made.
yeah, it's
We talk about Quarter, for example, who we've basically not seen.
yeah, haven't seen.
Emma Weston has been at the club for 18 months
Yeah, and
almost,
it's been injured seemingly the whole time.
and has played like 5 minutes, and it's like, okay, like, she makes a lot of signings, and it's a lot of players that don't know Scotland, haven't played in the SWPL, and I don't think that's a requirement to play for Celtic or Rangers or Hibs or Hearts, Glasgow City, whatever. But every other team has players that do. She doesn't make use of the academy. Academy players constantly are leaving. Whereas you look at just across at the opposition in this game, Rangers have May Cruft starting in midfield.
Yeah,
You want
they've
to
got
complain about resources while you're playing against a 16-year-old.
yeah, then me and McCauley, who they brought out through the academy, who
Yeah,
changes this
McCauley's out
game.
their academy.
So
Ailey Austin's out their academy. Laura Berry's out their academy. George McCleary's out their
yeah,
academy.
and all players
You've
who are
got Maria
game changers for
McInerney.
them
That's
now.
it.
Yeah, and even then,
And that's
hardly.
where I'm like,
So
yeah, and that's where it's like, I find it so hard to listen to someone be like, "Oh, we should have more resources because we're Celtic," and it's like, you're spending what you earn. Like most clubs in SWPL are, they're mostly self-run, and any investment they're getting isn't loads from the men's club, or like Glasgow City, for example, who got no investment from the men's club. And it's like, why can everyone else do it then? Why can Hearts do it if you can't?
yeah,
They're
well,
not getting millions of pounds from their men's team.
you
And
also got to think that
you
like
know,
Hibs, Hearts, for instance, are going out and signing Carly Johns, who ended up being a revolutionary, really good player.
from
You're not
Durham,
you're not telling me Celtic couldn't have got her. I know she went to Hearts and there's maybe ifs and buts,
yeah,
but like that's a quality of player that's available to Celtic. But
but
we're doing
Sadiq would
weird
rather
stuff.
sign someone
Yeah,
from
I know.
American college system or from
Yeah.
Sweden.
And I think
And
it's
the
frustrating.
players that you can get from Sweden aren't high enough, aren't the ones at the top end of
No,
Sweden.
yeah. But it's
You
weird
know,
because we spoke about it a few weeks back, and I said that I probably would offer her a new contract based off other things, but the longer this goes on, it's harder and harder to kind of justify that, I suppose.
I wouldn't, because
So
I
I know you.
wouldn't, but mostly because of the fact that she hasn't shown that she's willing to work with what she's got. And I think that's the big thing is like when Noonan was injured, for example, she's not willing to work with the fact that Noonan is injured, which is the thing that Grant Scott's now got to do, and I'll criticise him if he doesn't. Like,
But yeah, without
you've
they
got
just
to
put
work
Amy
with the
Gallagher up there,
players
and
that
you
you
got to hope
have
for the best.
available.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like if Grant Scott puts Terry Birchall up front and expects her to do what McGovern does,
No, it's
that's
not going to
obviously
work.
not going to
Yeah.
work. And that's something that she's never shown, and she's never shown a willingness to plan for the next generation. Like we talked about Queen's Park last weekend, that happens all the time with Celtic. They're never giving opportunities to the players around the squad. Dara Dawson's probably played made 3 appearances on that.
Yeah.
She was promoted to the first team last season.
Yeah, and she's very good as well when you see she plays. So
Yeah. So she's probably
yeah.
played less than May Croft, who's only had 10 games available basically because she was promoted this season. And it's like that's the bit where I'm like, it's such a huge sticking point because you can't complain that you don't have the players available to you and then not give the academy players a chance.
Yeah.
You've got
Definitely.
to give them a chance. And then in this game, obviously Morgan Cross gets injured, and that's a somewhat of a big turning point. I don't think it was a major turning point. She gets injured. She can't walk, and she's forced to go back on. That's horrendous management from a manager that had to retire early because of the amount of injuries she got.
Yeah.
To put a player back on the pitch who cannot walk, and it was so obvious. It was like, you could tell she didn't want to go back on.
Yeah.
She's hobbling around like she legitimately is. She couldn't run. Like she went to try and she just couldn't. So she was just sort of limping about, and it was like that is only like. Imagine if she had to make a recovery run
Yeah.
because in her head she's like, this has to stop an attack, and then does her ACL. Like that's when players get serious injuries, and she probably has a serious injury anyway because it was a pretty bad contact. I don't think it was like a serious foul. It was just one of those where the player like there's a clash of a foot to a thigh, but like it was clearly at least a dead leg,
Yeah.
and you can't just play her on. Like
No.
I found that so bad. That's horrendous. From like a player welfare point of view, and as I say, you can say, oh, well, her quality is needed because we don't have a big bench, but like if McGoldrick's good enough to be on the bench, he's good enough to be on the pitch.
Yeah.
Like,
They're all good enough. They've seen
you know
it.
what I mean?
They've all played plenty of football to know they're good enough.
Yeah, and
They've got to figure that out.
McGoldrick is good enough. We saw it at Motherwell. We know
Yeah.
McGoldrick's good enough.
Scotland top six. Great footballer. Yeah. So it's weird.
To speak about Rangers, I think the first half was a real show of why I don't like them playing the 4-2-3-1. Because Quinty Ceballo, who I don't understand as a footballer, I don't really understand what she does well. I don't understand how she has 75 appearances for Ajax because she doesn't seem to play much. Like she doesn't seem to get very involved. She's so far away from Wilkinson that Rangers can't get, similar to the Hibs problem in the second half, they can't get up the pitch because Wilkinson gets the ball and then has no one to go to, so she can't hold it up forever. In the second half, they bring on Kim, and she goes into defence midfield, and they push Maycroft further forward, and Croft was much better at getting closer to Wilkinson, but it also Shin's presence also allowed Macaulay to get further forward because she's no longer having to sort of cover for Croft a wee bit defensively. And they also made a slight tweak to how Jodie McCleary was playing. So Jodie McCleary sort of shifted a wee bit wider, which let Ailey Austin get further forward. And Ailey Austin had a great game, which just generally made them a little bit more coherent, allowed them to get up the pitch more. Kate Wilkinson obviously scores the equaliser. Unbelievable cross from Croft, an unbelievable header from Wilkinson. Like those are the goals that make her worth her money and make her one of the best strikers in the league. Not the 8 goals that she scores against Stonehaven. And yeah, Macaulay and Croft in that second half just ran the game. Like as I say, if you're going to talk about resources and you can get dominated by a 16-year-old,
and then an 18-year-old,
I think you've got to kind of look in the mirror and be a bit like, oh, maybe it's my fault. But yeah, I think Rangers in the second half, they were so much more aggressive. They did a much better job at covering for their weaknesses in Cathy Hill and Nick Dock's pace, especially. Not Cathy Hill, sorry. Lee Eddy and Jess Pegram's pace and Nick Knock's pace. Jess Pegram I thought looked a little bit iffy defending crosses. Celtic probably could have scored a few more, especially Noonan, who had a couple big chances that she should definitely bury. But Rangers absolutely deserved the winner, and just unbelievable from Macaulay. Like crazy, control defensively shambles from Celtic. I don't know if you notice, but Claire Walsh is the one marking her because Emma Lawton's disappeared. Don't really know where she's gone off to. Because it wasn't like it was a huge possession moment for Celtic. So Kim's long ball is far too easy because she's under very little pressure and there's no right back. So it's like Macaulay's, she has to run past Claire Walsh, who is not the fastest. But then to cut inside and head it like that
far corner.
was
very good goal. Brilliant. But that all leaves Celtic in 5th, still on the same points as Rangers, point behind Hibs. But what's that? 9 points off first. So as I just spoke about City kind of running away with it. City here this week continued to beat Montrose 6-1. We mentioned about that. Thistle, Gary Holt's first game, getting it winning against Aberdeen 1-0, and Motherwell winning the Lancashire Derby 2-0. And as a point as well, just to mention as well, I think that's what we spoke about earlier. Either Hamilton or Montrose were on TV yet this season, so we think to note there. But then I guess looking down through,
and I think just worth mentioning because I was before we started this, Counterpressed had Nikki Doucette on, who's the WSL CEO, and she was talking about the 12 p.m. kickoffs, which everyone hates. But one of the things she highlighted was how much the league had worked with the broadcasters to get every team on TV, and that every single team in the WSL has been on TV on Sky Sports at least twice already this season. We're in November, and there are 2 teams that haven't been on TV at all, BBC, Sky, whatever. One of them was playing in a derby this weekend, one of 3 derbies, the only derby that wasn't broadcast. BBC Scotland didn't broadcast a single game. The only games were on Sky and BBC Alba. And nothing about Aki's Motherwell. Montrose also, like, they're in 6th. Or
Montrose
they
are
might be
in 6th,
in 7th now. But, they're having a really good season. And on top of that, the only chance that a lot of these teams get to be on TV is when they're playing the top 5, which is then pointless anyway for growing the league because
it's just top 5 still.
If we're watching Motherwell lose 5-0 to Hibs, no one's going to go, like, no neutral is going to go support Motherwell. And Motherwell going to struggle to make themselves out as a serious team when they are a serious team. And this goes for obviously everyone, not just them. And that is difficult, whereas in England, we're seeing Aston Villa, London City Lionesses go on TV. And that's like a world away. She also spoke about how making the league bigger was good for player welfare, which I thought was interesting because she made a lot of the points that we've made about the restructure.
People can go listen to that Counterpress then.
But just generally, I think whether it happens this season, it probably won't, but at least in the summer, I think there needs to be a long conversation between the league and the BBC in particular, because we have fewer games on Sky and less control of what they do. About what games they're putting on, because it is. I do find it a bit pointless when I put I'm going to watch the football on the weekend and I've got a choice between, Liverpool Brighton, for example, which is going to be a competitive game between 2 decent teams of a similar-ish level, or I can watch Glasgow City Hamilton. And it's like, which am I going to watch? The one that's going to be really entertaining and end-to-end, or the one where one team's going to put up 25 shots. It's how many can they score? So I think that's something that, as much as Nikki Doucette gets a lot of flack for the stuff she says about wanting a Glastonbury atmosphere and Taylor Swift or whatever, I think it's something that the league do need to look at and maybe follow a wee bit in what she's doing.
Well, just to finish up, have a quick look at some SWPL 2 action. I think probably the big thing there is Kilmarnock continue winning ways, beating Bournemouth as well 2-0, while Spartans dropped points against Dundee United.
The big thing there actually is that my hometown East Fife demolished whoever they were playing.
Your hometown, the whole of East Fife.
Well, It's my local club.
Yeah.
Or
East
would have
Fife,
been when I was
East
growing
Fife
up.
town. Yeah, great.
I grew up in the east of Fife.
The East Neak. Weird place
Well,
to
they're
call a
based in
place.
Leven, but
Yeah. Anyway,
I think they train in Cooper, which is where I went to school. So,
listen.
um,
Fair enough.
big
But
off
that is
Fife
big East
gang.
Fife. We spoke about it last week about still Uni getting a win, and then whether or not East Fife could do that as well. And East Fife basically the next week did it. So fair enough for them. But yeah, looks like Kilmarnock now.
We also have spoken quite in depth about how East Fife looked like they could have won a lot of the games
Yeah,
that
we
they didn't
did.
win.
Yes. So they finally get one, but
and it was just like,
so
can
that
they keep
is
a clean sheet was basically it.
So that is Kilmarnock now 7 points clear of the top of the table, and East Fife a point ahead of Stirling Uni again now.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Keep an eye on all of that. But that's kind of all we've got time for today, unless there's anything urgent to get across. But
no, I just wanted to say that it's been a nice weekend of really good goals. McLaughlin's header for Kelly was mad.
yeah,
Notley's header for Hibs was obviously also mad. Macaulay's goal was mad. Wilkinson's header was also mad. A lot of good headers, which I'm loving.
Fair enough. Well, keep that up, guys. We'll be back again hopefully next week. Cover the next week of action, and see you all again then. Make sure you're following us on all social media channels and stuff, and subscribe and things. Thanks very much. See you all later.
Go read the article about Rachel Boyle.
Yeah. Shout out, Boyley.
On our Substack.
Cool. Speak to you all soon.